Greetings YouTube, my name is Tyler and this is my first week of November vlog. It is November 1st and I have finished a book. So I have spent the last couple days reading From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Koningsberg. Honestly, I have no idea how this ended up on my TBR. I knew it was like a middle grade, like children's chapter book. And I feel like I either got it from one of two places. One, I might have picked it up in like, sometimes I just like read about certain genres. So I feel like this could have been listed in some sort of like meta fiction rabbit hole I went down. The other is, for some reason, I feel like maybe Adil Rafai from Hey Riddle Riddle mentioned this book. I know for sure that he talked about the Wayside Story books, which I also read as a kid. But for some reason, I feel like maybe he also talked about this. So, yeah, I don't know. It was on my TBR, and I saw it at a thrift store that I randomly popped into a couple weeks back, and it's only like 50 cents or something for paperbacks at that thrift store, and I knew it was on my TBR, so I just went ahead and grabbed it, and it's just been kind of sitting on my shelf for a little bit, and I decided to just go ahead and read it because it's short. It fulfilled one of my booktrovertbingo spots that completed a bingo. So I've just been kind of reading this whenever I get a chance. And then the last 2 days I spent like really focusing on this just because I kind of got tired of reading it. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It is just, you know, a middle grade book, and it really didn't do a whole lot for me. I'll be honest, when I started it, I thought this was published in the 80s. So when I was reading the beginning, I was like, this feels very stuffy and weird and like just odd. And then I eventually, I don't know, I got like a quarter of the way through and I eventually looked at the copyright and it was actually published in the late 60s. So that ended up making it make more sense why everything was so bizarre. So there was that. It is just about a brother and a sister and they end up running away to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, yeah, in New York City, and it's about their adventures, and then about Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler is telling their story, and she comes into the story later. I liked the narrative device of like Mrs. Frankweiler telling this story and writing to her lawyer who she like addresses throughout the book. I like that. I enjoy that in a book, children or otherwise. However, like besides that, it really didn't do a whole lot. I wasn't very invested in the mystery and I didn't really like either of the children. And you know, part of it really did just feel dated. And you know, if I was a child, it probably would be easier to look past those things. But I'm a 30-year-old lady. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars just because like my reading experience wasn't like amazing or anything, but it isn't bad by any means. It was not a book written for me. So yeah. Anyways, and with that, I hit a bingo here, this one. So School Ties I've talked about already. Catherine House. Outside the Box also talked about already, which was On Fragile Waves. Cover Up, this is supposed to be like a pretty cover or something you got because you liked the cover, something along those lines. I ended up using Sour Candy for this because it was advertised in the Hoopla Scare section at the beginning of October and the cover just really grabbed my attention and so I read it. So that's what I used. Like I didn't, I'm not like obsessed with the cover or anything along those lines, but the cover was eye-catching enough that it made me read the book, if that makes sense. The next one is Gifted or Thrifted, which was this because I did pick it up from the thrift store. And then the last one on that row was Gen X. This was supposed to be a book either by an author born between 65 and 84 or a book published between 64 and or 65 and 84. And I ended up using The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. I think this was like published in the 70s, and I think that's why I used it. I do not believe Ursula K. Le Guin is a Gen Xer, so I believe that's how that works. So anyways, that is my update. I just wanted to go ahead and finish this today because I have a hair appointment tomorrow that I think will probably end up eating up a lot of my time tomorrow. So I just wanted to clear out my currently reading a little bit. I have some hockey to watch tonight, so I'll probably do some reading of the between. I find that to be really easy. The chapters tend to be kind of short, so I can read in fits and starts. Anyways, I will see y'all, I don't know, maybe tomorrow with my hair, or if not tomorrow, later. Anyways, I will see y'all later. Bye. Hello, it is November 3rd. I have not checked in a while. I did get my hair cut. I have like a little mullet going, and there's some blue. It's not all blue, but there is blue. Really happy, really pleased with it. So I am here to check in because I am DNFing a book. I'm gonna go ahead and DNF The Between by Tanana Reeve Dew. I feel bad DNFing it, but the beginning I was enjoying, and oddly enough, it kind of was reminding me of the Alex Cross series by James Patterson. At first, there's a lot of like short chapters. It's about a man named Hilton and his family. Hilton is like a social worker. He works with people in like drug rehabs and stuff. And his wife, Day is a judge. Like, she just became a judge. And she has started to get threatening, very racist notes. And while this is happening, Hilton is like not sleeping, and it has just devolved into a lot of dreams. And like, it mentions that in the back, but I picked this up because I had read one of her short stories in Other Terrors and I liked it. And so when I saw the name, I picked it up despite seeing that like it does mention dreams in here. So I wanted to give it a shot. I thought maybe I could still work through it. And honestly, like, I could have pushed myself to finish this book, but I'm like halfway through, 150 pages in, and it's just getting like more dreamy, and I'm becoming less invested in the story as it goes on. So I did something I never do, and I DNF'd at 150 pages. I'm like at the halfway point. And I decided to DNF it because I had talked about I wanted to be better about that. So this was like kind of the last Halloween spooky season book. I mean, I'm still going to be reading horror through the year, but this was like the last one that I picked up in October. And unfortunately, I'm DNFing it. I don't think it was bad. I was still enjoying her writing. It's just like not the type of story I enjoy. I don't like reading dreams. I don't know what to tell you. I don't. So I'm probably going to read the spoilers for this because like I'm curious, and I did like read the last 2 pages of this to see if like maybe there was something interesting that was going to happen that would maybe keep me more invested in the story, but like it didn't. So I'm gonna read the spoilers for it because I would like to know what happens, but I'm not gonna spend any more time reading it, especially because I felt myself not wanting to pick it up to read. Like yesterday, I was busy. My hair took like 3 hours. And like when I got home, I was like, I really don't want to spend any time with that book at all. And so I was making myself read quite a bit of it today. It's like just afternoon, I think. And I just like did not want to read it anymore. So I was brave and DNF'd it. Anyways, before I go, I do think I'm going to replace that physical read with this. The Hidden Culture, History, and Science of Bisexuality by Julia Shaw. I have not heard any chatter about this, but it's new at the library, and the pretty cover caught my attention. Anyways, this has been a little bit longer and ramblier than I had anticipated. I will see y'all when I finish a book. I kind of started Sleepwalking by Meg Wolitzer, but I've read like 2 pages of it. I have not been able to get myself to focus on that. I don't know, I'm kind of considering returning it to the library and just like trying again later, just because I'm not having a bad time with it. I just like can't get myself to pay attention. Anyways, so I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Hello, it is November 5th and I'm just doing a little update. I'm feeling like I'm not going to finish anything else this week because, I don't know, editing this vlog for Monday, so the last week of October vlog, it's not even that long, but it is just like taking it out of me. I think getting my hair done this week, just like, I was there for 3 hours and it's been a very long time since I have gotten my hair done or done anything indoors close to people for a prolonged period in a really long time. So I feel like I am just like, I've been run over mentally. So then also having to edit a 30-minute vlog is also just kind of exhausting me. So I have like done no reading. I'm still working on the audiobook because that's like the only thing I have the stamina to do. However, I can only listen to it in like hour chunks just because the way the audiobook's chapters are like done. It's very clear there are sections within these very long chapters. However, those sections are not shown on the table of contents. And so it's hard to determine when I can stop or if I have time to listen to a part of the audiobook or not. So I've only been able to do it when I know I have a lot of free time and something I can do mindlessly. So I finished my crochet project this week, which is what I was normally doing to listen to the audiobook. So I've started doing some doodling because that's like all I can do. I can't do anything too much more intense. Like I can't even really scroll on my phone or play games or anything because it's just too much of an intense audiobook to be able to focus on and split my attention with something even slightly more brain intensive. So I am like halfway through it, but that still means I have like 12 hours and I don't foresee finishing it this week. And that is like the only thing I'm currently reading. So I went from reading 4 books a week to finishing 1 book this week. I'm tempted to maybe try and find a graphic novel I can read quickly. But I also don't want to just read stuff to pad my numbers. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyways, I just want to do that little check-in because it has been a little bit. And now I need to go work on this vlog. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Howdy, it is November 6th and I have just finished a book. I have finished Dementia 21 by Shintaro Kago. I'm going to read the back of it because I feel like it does a much better job than I could have done if I explained this manga to you. Yuki is a sprightly young home health aide eager to help her elderly clients, but what seems like a simple, straightforward job turns quickly into a series of surreal adventures that put Yuki's wits to the test. In one story, she reluctantly takes on the arduous task of caring for 3 elderly women single-handedly. But when more and more mysteriously appear in the house each day, she soon finds herself up to the neck, literally, in old people. In another, she discovers that her senile client has supernatural powers that, if unchecked, could bring about the end of the world. In yet another, she must contend with a set of sentient dentures hell-bent on controlling elderly minds. So yeah, this is like a really surreal manga. It doesn't have like a very overarching plot, which usually would be like a That was the sound of my very fat cat, Max, failing to get up into the window. Let me get him. So, as I was saying, that would usually be a negative for me, not having like a plot really. But I don't know, it really worked for me. I really, really had a good time reading this. There were definitely some like body horror things going on here. That denture story I mentioned, the final panels in that had me some sort of way. There were some other ones that definitely had some panels that were just like so trippy, so wild, so weird, so disturbing. There's one with like contagious wrinkles that really kind of made my skin crawl. My favorite one was definitely the cord one. I don't really want to get too descriptive, but Yuki needed to find the end of a cord, and it was just absurd and wild and crazy. I just really enjoyed this. It didn't seem like something I should enjoy. It's not necessarily horror. It's definitely that surreal, absurd sort of thing. Some are more disturbing than others, but they all seem to have kind of a goofy quality to them, and not in a bad way, but like in a lighthearted, absurd way. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I don't know. I'm not gonna give it an outright 5, but it's probably like a 4.5. I had a good time reading it. I will say a lot of the times there was like a lot of negativity around mother-in-laws and their nagging in particular. And I could, at the beginning it just seemed like kind of lighthearted fun, but there was like just one comic too many where it kind of felt like it was coming off as like women. Whereas like it's kind of hard to find that line of balancing the trope of like, we all know the nagging mother-in-law trope, and like you can laugh at it and recognize that it's not really saying much beyond just like, this is a trope that we all recognize in society. And then there's a point where you pass where you constantly referencing that trope, you're kind of like, and it kind of makes you stop and side-eye a little bit. And I feel like I was just like over that line a little bit. So like it was near the end of it anyway, so I don't know, that's just like my thought about that. There is a second volume. I don't know if there are many more after this, but my husband also has the second volume, so I'm gonna immediately start this. Probably not tonight, but I will be continuing just because I had a really fun time with it. Really like the character of Yuki. The surrealness of it just really somehow worked for me when it does not seem like it should work for me as the type of reader I am. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow. I do not foresee finishing any books between now and then, so tomorrow should be final thoughts, because I still have like 8 hours in the audiobook, and I have just like not been able to like really get going with sleepwalking. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Hello YouTube, it is November 7th and I am going to close out the vlog here. I have ended my like 2-month streak of reading 4 books in a week, every week for 2 months. I did not succeed in that mission this week. I only read 2 books. I read From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Koningberg, which was 3 stars. That was a middle grade book. And then I read Dementia 21 by Shintaro Kagu, which got rounded up to 5 stars on Goodreads. It was like 4.5, which was a manga. And I mean, I guess the manga was like 300 pages long. It was like a number of issues compiled, but neither of them were very long. It is what it is. I read a bunch last week. I think I read 6 books last week, so it kind of evens out. I'm obviously talking about it, but like I'm not like actually upset about it. I'm just sharing because I kept talking about how I was reading 4 books in a week. Anyways, so those were the 2 books I read. Obviously, Dementia 21 was my favorite. The Mixed Up Files was my least favorite, but I didn't even like hate that or anything. I just like it was just a middle grade book, so it didn't do anything for me. I'm currently reading a few different things. I'm reading The Dawn of Everything, which the loan on that is about to expire. It was the library I got it from only does 2-week checkouts for audiobooks. And it's a 24-hour audiobook, and I got the notification that it's due in 3 days, and I still have 8 hours left. So I'm like really trying to focus on that the next couple days because I want to finish it. But I also know that means I'm not going to be retaining as much information from it as I would hope if I could take a little more time with it. But it has been quite an interesting read, and I'll talk about it more next week when I finish it. I'm also reading Sleepwalking by Meg Wurlitzer. I've hit the quarter mark in it. I'm really not focusing on it very much. I'm not having a bad time. I think I've said all this already. I'm not having a bad time, but I'm just like, I haven't been able to focus all that much. But I'm starting to get a little more into it. And then I started by Julia Shaw, which is the like the study of bisexuality, basically. So I started that today. I read the intro in the first chapter. It's pretty interesting. So that's kind of where my reading stands. I didn't get any more bingos this week, just because the only other book I read was Dementia 21, and while it did mark off a prompt, it didn't finish a bingo. So there is that. Yeah, I guess I'll see y'all next week with some thoughts on those books that I just talked about. All right, bye.